my director here.
You're go. And we're live.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Give us, Lord, a humble, quiet, peaceable, patient, tender, and charitable mind. And in all our thoughts, words, and deeds, a taste for the Holy Spirit. Give us, Lord, a lively faith, a firm hope, a fervent charity, a love of you. Take from us all lukewarmness in mediation, dullness in prayer. Give us fervor and delight in thinking of you and your grace, your tender compassion towards me. The things that we pray for, good Lord, give us grace to labor for. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. This is a prayer from St. Thomas More, who is the patron saint of lawyers.
Of who?
Lawyers.
Boy, they need more than one.
More than one. Okay. Here she comes. Welcome everybody again. Okay. We are going to have, I'm walking around, that's not right.
That's okay. I'll chase you.
Some people coming to talk to us about what we've been talking about, the Mystagogy, the mystery of the church, and your mission, not just to show up for Mass every Sunday, but to get involved wherever you can, however you can. Okay, so, Carol, come in.
Are you ready for it?
Yes, we're ready for you.
Were you waiting, sorry?
No, we were visiting. You know how Catholics are never on time. What?
We're still on Father break time.
We're all following.
I'm only 1 minute late. She said 6:45.
That's
Oh.
true for her, I did. This is Carol Alonso. Carol Alonso is also a catechist and has been involved in catechetical ministry for a long time. She used to teach youth confirmation. Okay, and I know I've talked to you sometimes. I mentioned the community I walked in. Carol was my sister in the community for 24 years before our community, through age, illness, and some other things, is no longer. She is the, are you president? Vice president of the Women's Club. So ladies, she's going to talk to us about the Women's Club. Do not be afraid, guys, because Robert Gonzalez is going to come later on and he'll talk about the Knights of Columbus. But Carol is going to tell you everything that goes on in the Women's Club, which is the oldest club at Holy Family. It existed before Holy Family was even built. Okay?
It was the women of Kingsburg that raised money to build the Catholic Church.
Not the women of Kingsburg, the Catholic women of Kingsburg.
Catholic women.
Kingsburg
I
didn't
stand
want us
corrected.
here.
No,
It's probably
they
still
didn't
no.
want us here.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
We're not sensitive.
Not at all.
Anyway, welcome to all you new Catholics. The Catholic faith is such a blessing, but it's also a challenge, and it's hard, but it's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So I welcome you all. Just happy that you guys all chose to be Catholic, because now you get to receive Jesus, and it's great. So, Catholic Women's Club, I am actually not an old member because I was dedicating my time to catechetical ministry, but after I retired, I thought, I really need to do something, so I got involved with the Catholic Women's Club. So it is only for women, sorry guys, but you guys can listen, or if you have a girlfriend, or if you have a wife, send her down. We're a club, we meet once a month, and our ministry, what we do is we raise money mostly through bingo, but other fundraisers, so we could, number one, help the youth of our church with scholarships, and number two, help our church. So we help with various things, like I know the Women's Club set aside money to get these air conditioners in this room. And then if you've ever been in our church hall, we put the money towards that nice flooring that we did. So a lot of different things that we try to do to improve our church. But mainly our group is I want to say, for me, what it is a fellowship with Catholic women. And we come together and we meet, and we have dinner, or we have dessert and drinks, and we talk about what's going on in the church and what we're gonna do and upcoming functions and how can we help. And so a lot of different ways to help. It doesn't have to be, if you're a member, it doesn't have to be financial. It doesn't, if you have a gift in cooking and something's coming up and they need somebody to cook, and the fall festival's coming up, and we want to do a booth, but we don't know what to make, and you say, hey, you know what, I don't know how to make beer rocks, we can sell beer rocks. Whatever you can do, we welcome. So it's a group of women. We meet the fourth Monday of the month at 6:30. Fourth Monday, 6:30 we try to end it at 8. Sometimes, as you know, yeah, you're laughing because huh? Sometimes we get a little gabby, a little talky, and we say a little bit later, but it's supposed to end at 8. And if you need to leave at 8, we understand. So some of the women in our group serve in a committee called the Funeral Committee. And I don't know if you've heard, but Holy Family is very unique in that the church helps provide meals when somebody has a funeral at our church. When somebody has deceased in our church and they want to provide a luncheon, the Catholic Women's Club has committees, and we bring salads, and we bring side dishes, we bring whatever. Usually the family will bring the main dish, or else they'll put money towards like buying chicken or buying whatever they want to serve. So we have 4 committees that serve funerals. You don't have to do it every time somebody passes away, because that would be a lot. So I serve on one. I actually haven't been called for probably maybe about a month.
I know, I haven't either.
I haven't been called, but you make a salad, you take it down to the hall, and come back whenever for your dish. So that's one of the ministries that the Catholic Women has. It's called the Funeral Committees. Another one is a prayer circle. And so we have several prayer circles, 4 also, I believe, right? 3? We have 3 prayer circles. And if you think that that's your gift to pray, then you could join a prayer circle. And whenever somebody's in need of prayer, they contact one of the leads that's one of the leads for the prayer circle. And that lead will then text somebody else. And before you know it, you've got 10, 15, 20 people praying for whatever you need prayer for. And we do it for anybody who asks. You just have to call somebody and say, hey, I need prayer, or hey, my nephew needs prayer, or anybody. We are not selective, we are praying. So a lot of women, especially we have a lot of women in the Kingsburg Catholic Women's Club that are senior citizens, and maybe some of them are more homebound. And, and their thing is, when I talk to them, they'll say, like, all I've got is time to pray, because they're home. So that's a beautiful ministry that we have.
But the women's club also has younger members, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't consider myself senior. Judy is in the women's club, and so is my friend here, Cindy. She's in the women's club. Lupe came a few times, yeah. So on a Monday, 4th Monday of the month, 4th Monday. Last year we had our first ever women's retreat, and it's open to women, any woman from anywhere. It's a Catholic retreat, of course, but we had last year maybe about 35, 40 women come up to 3 Rivers with us, and we did it overnight, Friday night to Saturday evening. It was a lot of fun. We're doing it again this year. You'll be seeing it in the bulletin soon. So if you're interested in that, look for that. That's coming up. You don't have to be a member to come to the retreat. You can just come if you want to come to the retreat. And our cost is pretty much what they charge up there. We try to fundraise to offset some of the other stuff that we provide.
And the food is great.
It's good, and it's all you can eat. That's all you can eat up there.
God bless
No
you.
limitations on servings or trips.
And the food is good, really good.
It is 3 meals a day.
And it's a beautiful place up there.
It is
Really
beautiful.
nice.
It is beautiful. So,
Yeah.
That's coming up. That'll be coming up at the end of September. So we'll be putting it in the bulletin probably sometime in July.
And so,
When do we meet? Where? Oh, at the church hall. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, at the church hall.
you also do the Easter egg hunt for the kids?
We do Easter egg hunting for the children of the parish after the 10 o'clock mass, after the 12 o'clock mass. And also in London, they did it this year. They provide, what we do is we hide eggs that they just have a paper in it, because a lot of, the candy comes from the women's club and donations from the parish. And a lot of them provide chocolate, so we stopped putting them in the eggs because then they melt. So now they just have a piece of paper that says candy, and then they turn in their eggs, and we give them bags of candy. And there is some that say basket, and we do give each
Max got a
baskets.
basket. this
Did
year.
he? Wow,
Yeah,
good
he
for
was
him.
So did my grandson.
Oh, yay. Yeah, we had several this year. We were really lucky.
Yeah.
Very blessed. The women, I will say that my experience this year with the women's club is very blessed because we have had so much support from the women in our group. So much. When we do bingos, we raise money for different things that we're doing. And a lot of times what we do is we'll get $50 gift cards to Save Mart or $50 gift cards to somewhere. And that'll be our raffle prizes. But this year, the club members have said, you know what, I'm gonna bring a basket and I'm gonna bring a basket. So we've been so blessed this year. So we're gonna be able this year to give some really nice scholarships to our seniors that we're gonna award this year. So we're really blessed about that and excited, so.
And you have the luncheon on Saturday.
We have the luncheon this Saturday. We have the women's luncheon. Every year is a different theme. This year, the theme is the faces of Mary around the world. And so we have the different Marys at different tables, and some people will have statues. Some people will just maybe have a booklet or just talk about who their Mary is. But there's a lot to learn, because I have learned. There's a table she's called Madre de la Leche, which means mother of the milk, and she is a patron saint for breastfeeding.
Mhm.
Didn't know that.
And her chapel is in St. Augustine, Florida. I've been there. There's a statue there.
Yeah, see, so, I mean, it's just so neat.
Wait, so this is Mary?
Apparitions of Mary. So Mary appears all over the world,
Oh, okay.
and so like she's appeared in China, is it, or China,
Vietnam.
Vietnam,
and
yeah,
Japan.
and Portugal,
We got
Mexico,
Amazon, Japan.
Medjugorje, Ireland. So, and every time she appears, they give her name. Like in Ireland, it's Our Lady of Knock. And in Portugal, it's Mary of Lourdes. And
Fatima.
Fatima, I'm sorry. So
France is Lourdes.
Lourdes is France. So wherever she appears in Mexico, it's Guadalupe, Our Lady of Guadalupe.
So
So
it's-
wherever she appears, she's given a name.
Okay.
So this luncheon theme is tied into the presentation that
For the
we did on the
consecration.
many faces of Mary that Deacon led, all the different places that she's appeared, and then the 33 days to glory, consecration to Jesus through Mary. So it's all tied in and very beautiful.
And they picked certain ones, like, what was it, 7?
That
Was it
Deacon
7
talked about,
that Deacon talked about?
yeah.
He picked 7, of course, there's more, but he picked these 7 because those are pertaining to what's going on in the world right now.
Mary's message.
Her message right now that's going on, everything that's going on, that's why he picked, because somebody said, well, how come you didn't pick so-and-so? Well, that's what they were saying.
So is this for this luncheon, or was that last year?
No,
This
that's
one-
this
That's
coming
for Saturday.
On Saturday.
Saturday's luncheon.
Saturday's luncheon is faces of Mary around the world. $15 to come to our luncheon, so. Yeah, if you are interested, just come. They are gonna sell seats at the door.
The meeting for the women's club was changed this month. When is it?
It's this coming Monday, the 15th. It was changed this month. It's not, for the month of May, it is not the fourth Monday, because the fourth Monday is the scholarship awards assembly at the high school. And we have a lot of members that have either seniors that are children or grandchildren who want to go to that.
Or we'll be awarding our scholarships to the seniors this year. Because our funeral committee our scholarship committee goes and makes the presentation of those who have won the scholarships.
So we changed it to Monday.
We moved it up a
Thank
week.
you for reminding me.
And it costs $10.
$10.
$10.
Our committee dues is $10 per year, which is payable September or October, is when we collect usually. So, and that just goes towards the fund, and really the purpose of the dues is to try to get our ladies to commit to coming, really.
And it pays for the printing of the membership
Newsletter.
book and the newsletter monthly.
The
The
newsletter.
mailing, because we mail a newsletter out every month.
And you do get a book, and it has everybody's
Contact information.
contact information if you need to contact somebody. It talks about all the different offices in the committee and what their purpose is and what they serve. It talks about the funeral committees. and the
Altar
prayer groups
Society.
and the yeah, we have Altar Society. We have something called the Sunshine Committee. And what she does, that's Lila, what she does is if you have a birthday, you're on the committee and you have a birthday, she sends you a birthday card, or if you're ill, she'll send you a get well card, or if somebody's passed away, she sends you a sympathy card, so that's her ministry, and she does that for us, so. Does anybody have any questions?
And it's open to all women, no matter what your age.
And anybody can contribute to the funeral committees. If that sounds like something you're capable of doing, making a casserole or a dessert, we'll say at the most a dozen times a year, but you don't have the time to commit to the full club, you can be part of a funeral committee without being a women's club member. It's open to men as well. As a matter of fact, my father, when he was younger, was one of the chairs of the funeral committee. And of course, being a man, he wasn't a member of the women's club, but he was on the funeral committee. So
And that is a unique ministry to Holy Family. Most parishes do not provide a funeral luncheon to a family. Holy Family does.
we prepare it, we serve it, we provide the plates and
Paper goods.
napkins and drinks and the whole kit and caboodle.
But a
And
lot of,
I'll throw in a vote on how great that was. That out of 5 stars or 5 star.
Oh, thank you.
When
Nancy's.
I lost Nancy, they, with my family gathering and everything that was going on.
Yeah, you don't have time for
It
that.
took a
Yeah.
huge weight off my shoulders. It was great.
Yeah, it does.
And
It does.
Catholics know how to cook.
And how to eat.
Yeah, these funeral luncheons are quite good.
Oh, that's right. I did have one complaint.
What?
They served water for our luncheon untouched by Jesus.
Oh, no wine, oh.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so on the back of the bulletin, which you should be getting every weekend, there is the phone number to contact the Women's Club if you have any questions. So you can always do that, or Judy, or where if you see her around, okay, I want to call and find out some more. So thank you, Carol, very much.
Yes, she has a question. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have any need of anybody that knows how to sew? I know how to sew garments, but it would take a long time to make something like that, depending on how complicated it would be, but would you accept anything like that, or do you have any need for anything like
Absolutely,
that?
yeah, especially like when we have like raffles, if you sew aprons, you could bring a couple of aprons and bring them, or whatever,
That's
what
a
do
good
you sew?
idea.
You know what I mean? You could make pot holders or whatever you sew, and when we're gonna have a
Tablecloths
raffle, you can bring them and say,
placemats.
hey, I made these for the raffle. They'd be happy to take.
Are you a quilt maker? You could do quilts. Doesn't have to be the fine
It
itty
could be
bitty
just a lap
square
quilt,
one, but you can do,
we don't need a king
8
size
by 8
bed.
square quilt.
I could do quilting, but if I did.
That takes a while, I'm sure.
No, I'd have to have more space because I need to have
Ah.
the batting, and I could sew the top of it, but I don't really know how to.
Gotcha. Put it all together.
Yeah, but yeah, anything, whatever you make, if you don't use it, we can
Fine.
surely use it somehow, believe me.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Yeah, if anybody has any talents that you think we might be able to use, even if you don't know for sure we can use it, even singing and dancing, we can use it.
Okay, thank you,
Anyway,
Carol.
Thank you guys, I hope I see some of you, but if not, again, welcome to our church, and I will be praying for you all.
Okay, Miss Erin, she's back.
Okay, so I was a women's club president for several years in a row. I am no longer a member. Not that I don't support the women's club, I just can't handle the monthly meetings. However, I am on that funeral committee. So the concept is, you don't have to, as it was stated, you don't always have to join and do something monthly to participate in some of the other ministries. Are you coming to see me? My other dogs will hate me.
That's what she's got to whip up.
Yeah, oh yeah, honey, I got 4 of them at home. You're okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm here for 2 reasons. I'm gonna leave these up here. These are little pamphlets, if you are interested, that I talked about last week on a lector and the Ministry of Extraordinary Eucharistic Minister. So these are up here. Please take one afterwards if you are interested in any way. And there again, you guys, this is all new. We are so excited. There's a joke in the Catholic world that once you sign on the dotted line, we want your social security name, your DNA, you're in for life. But the ministries come and go. As I told you, I have done everything from youth group to baptism prep to engaged encounter, all the way up. Now I'm moving to grandparent. There is a place for you at every stage of your life. So this is one of our wonderful ladies of Mary, but Our Lady of Fatima. So I had told you guys last week, if you walk into the vestibule of the church, which is through the front doors, it's sometimes kind of confusing because what is the front of the church? What is the back of the church? That's why they have words. But the vestibule, there's a table. When you walk in, there's the holy water, but then there's a table. There is now a 8.5 by 11 plastic acrylic stand that has some business cards in it. And it basically is just saying, this is the Our Lady of Fatima in-home devotion. Take the business card, either call me or email me. For the most part, people usually sign up to take her for a week. This is how I keep track of it. Although right now, I had somebody take her a week ago. What's today? Thursday. I had her take Wednesday, and they're not returning her until this Sunday. So they had her for like 10 or 11 days. This one is the heavier one. It's all, there's one that's about here. And honey, it's not that heavy. I mean, I can pick it up, okay? I'm not comfortable walking with it right now just from my recent knee surgery, so that's why I had Leonard help me. The other two generally do kind of go first just because they're lighter. There are also, there's 2 or 3 binders back there. And all this does is basically explain the story of Fatima. And there are some other prayers in there. If you take one of these, just bring it back with the statue. Some people have taken the binder a couple of times and then they're like, no, we're on our own. They have they do the rosary with her every day. They do their own different family devotion. So there is no right or wrong. It's not that you have to follow these prayers. As I stated, and as you will find with the Women's Club Luncheon on Saturday, you know, Mary appeared throughout the world to different people at different historical times. I am Irish. You would think my first would go towards Our Lady of Knock, but my husband is Portuguese, but for some reason, I am just so pulled to Our Lady of Fatima. I think for me, because her message is still so needed in today's current status of our world, that, and plus one of the 3 children only died in 2006. So this is my history. I can go back and say I was living through some of this. So I encourage you there again, it goes all year. So you might not get, you know, Mary might not tug on your heart until next January, but there's business cards there. I encourage you to take her home. It is pretty spectacular. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank you you give such really awesome presentations, and you are so dedicated. I just think that's wonderful.
She's enthusiastic.
Because my DNA's on file in the 3rd cupboard of the drawer. Health buff and you're, you know, riding 5 miles, whatever it is, my Catholicism, although I try to curb it when I'm in public without Kingsburg, my Catholicism like pours out of every
I
being
understand.
of my body. I try and hide it, I do.
Your pores.
I do. There are some things I can't though, you know, I know that some people say bless you. No, it's God bless you. But I have, there again, I travel the world sometimes by myself, but I try to be cognizant that maybe it's not safe, but I can't change who I am. So thank you very much for the compliment. I am impressed by each and every one of you. So, keep up the good work. Because I'm a lector and extraordinary Eucharistic minister, I expect you up at that AMBO. Because I got married, I expect to hear from you. I don't expect the grandparents much anytime soon. You guys all are too young for that. Okay, and there isn't one in June, just a heads up.
There is.
I tried, the agenda is kind of set. I will not be there in June. I tried to hand it off and they're very much of
Nobody
fairness.
will take it.
Not
Are you
here, no one
going-
will take it.
Are you going to Israel?
In July again. I'm going, so this, you guys, this week, I leave Monday. I am taking 15 people from the island of Maui to the island of Molokai. Now, if you're on the west side of Maui, you can see Molokai the same way we could, well, I'd say, it's 6 miles. Okay, so the people of Maui look out to see Molokai and Lanai. It's just part of what we see, right? There are people in Maui who have never been to the two little islands.
Really?
Oh, yes.
They're only 6 miles away.
They are 6 miles away.
Well, it's like people who live in San Francisco, until somebody comes to visit, you don't go
Or
across. the
even
Golden
people
Gate
here that
Bridge.
have never been to Yosemite or Kings Canyon.
Right.
Anyway, I go over on Monday. On Tuesday, there's 15 that are flying over to the island of Molokai. The island of Molokai has about the population of Fowler on the whole island. But it is has the leper colony of Kalaupapa, which is where St. Damien lived. So our pilgrimage is, St. Damien actually built 2 other churches on what they call top country or up country. And one of them was his personal church, which width to width is probably from that wall to me, if that. It was his private church. And then it is a full-blown church. But then we are walking, I think it's 3 miles to Our Lady of Sorrows, which is the community church that is still very active. And then the next day we are going down by plane to the leper colony. It is, you can only go down there invited. They welcome you and they are there to see you off. Don't stray from the group, don't wander away.
So that still exists, the leper colony?
There are 11 people still that have been there, and 8 still have leprosy. It is now technically a national park. You can only get there by boat or by air. The donkeys used to go down. I don't know if you ever heard that. The donkeys have not been going down for about 6 years. There again, the donkeys were outsourced to the people who own the property to get down to Kalaupapa. The people with the mules did not have insurance. And so there again, it fell on if you're injured on that donkey, it goes back to who owns the land. So there was a standoff for about 2 or 3 years, and then finally the family just would not allow the donkeys anymore. You can still walk down it. And there again, people did it all the time. We are just a lazy people.
Aaron, could you please tell me about Saint Damien, because a lot of them are not familiar with this saint. A
Saint Damien,
modern day saint.
yeah, Saint Damien, I can't give you his biography because there again, I try to live things, I don't always repeat things correctly. Saint Damien was he was born in Belgium, and like in 1840. And his brother was actually sanctioned to come over. His brother was already an ordained priest, and it was to come over to Hawaii to help with this leper colony. And the brother took ill, so Damien went in his place and actually got over to Honolulu and was ordained. When they then took, I got goosebumps. When they then took him by ship over to Kalaupapa, he chose to stay. He was there like 17 years. He only got leprosy the last 2 years. He chose to stay. Him serving the people, being down there, we think of it as, there's nothing more beautiful than that green palm tree with the blue sky and the ocean. It is paradise. To them, it was hell on earth because they were stuck there. They were forced there. They were cut off from their community. St. Damien left a few times to go to Honolulu to speak about what was going on in the atrocities They basically, as I said, the ships, the barges would pull in, the food and supplies were either thrown in the water and they would go out to basically fish them out, or they were airdropped back in the day. These people were cut off. When I went there 5 years ago, they asked us very nicely to try to speak to the surviving leper patients. That they want to talk, they want to engage with people. So people went up immediately, and I'm not judging, please don't take my story that way. Hi, how are you? My name's so-and-so, and they just didn't know what to say. So I had been listening. He had a dog, so someone had struck up a conversation about a pet. But I had heard the island of Molokai is not a wealthy island. There's no high rises. There's only 2-story buildings. Even the hotels are 2-story. They're like Morro Bay 1950 hotels, where the oscillating fan is in the corner and the cord is hanging down. It's not for everyone. The island raised money to send all 11 patients to Rome to be there when he was actually canonized. Okay, and so I had heard that. So I walked up to him, his name was Buddy, and I said, hey Buddy, how are you? And he says, fine. And I said, I heard you went to Rome. He goes, I did. And I said, how was that? He goes, the experience was awesome. He goes, I wanted to come home, because you're used to living with 20 people or 200 people at the most back in all of his lifetime. It was a lot. He has been to Disneyland and he's been to Vegas. And he was so proud of those things. And so I struck up the conversation, because I am a travel agent. I struck up the conversation about travel. I touched him, I hugged him, not concerned about getting leprosy at all. When St. Damien was canonized in Rome, the island of Molokai had a huge celebration where they carried his relics, and it was a massive celebration, and I was honored to be there. So, and that was 2 weeks after he was canonized. So I feel a little bit like he's my saint. He's mine. I'll share him with you guys, but he's mine. Which is also the same way I feel about Our Lady of Fatima. So whatever it is you guys find your heart being driven to throughout your Catholic journey here, your Christian life, just find it, dive into it, and embrace it with all you got, and it will not lead you astray. So, all right.
Thank you, Erin.
All right, I'm out.
Want to take it back?
Can you take it back?
Thank you.
As I said, the other ones are lighter. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Greg, do you want to speak now, or do you want me to show the video first, or what?
Well, you can shut me down if I get too long-winded.
Oh, okay. Now, with the funeral committee, which Erin was talking about, and Judy, who is Karen Schmall, who can't be here tonight, she heads up the funeral committee. So when you see her at Mass, or if you need a phone number, you can always call and say, I'd like to be on the list. And as Erin said, I haven't been called in 2-3 months. And I only make one dish, and that's 3-meat salad. So that's it. That's the only thing. And they just ask that you bring it to the hall the day of the funeral. And you don't have to stay and help or anything like that, or you can if you want. But you be called, and guys can make stuff too. It doesn't have to be just women. But it's a wonderful ministry that we offer to families who have suffered the death of a loved one. And so, as I said, Holy Family is very unique because we're one of the few parishes that offer it. In a lot of the other parishes, you have to pay for the hall and you have to pay for the meal. So it's very nice that we can do that.
And if you are called to help, but don't feel like you could cook or bring a cookies from Save Mart or whatever, there are individuals that write a check or give the funeral committee cash to go do what you can't do, if that's something that isn't possible.
All right, Mr. Hand?
Okay, there's some things that have happened to a few of us here that kind of got me thinking a while back about talking about stuff that I've never talked about before. I kind of talked over with some of my colleagues here about that stuff. There's no Marine Corps saying about letting your alligator mouth overload your hummingbird butt. And if you think about that for a while, you can kind of figure out what it means. But so I kind of got prodded and pushed into doing something that I'll tell you up front, I'm not real comfortable with. We're going to talk about things here that even my kids have been trying to drag out of me for some time and haven't been successful. I want to lead it up with the fact that what I'm going to tell you here, I'm not after sympathy. I don't want sympathy. It's something I don't need. But I want to bring this stuff up to do several things. The first thing, and the primary thing, is the importance of faith and what that's built on. Okay? And the second one is life in general. You look at me and you go, what this old fart know? Okay, well, once upon a time, I was younger, fairly tall, roguishly handsome, global. I had red hair and I had red hair. I had hair. Okay. So sometimes when you tell stories to younger folks, they kind of look at you and go, that's not possible. How could that old fart know those kind of experiences? But all the desires, all the hormones, everything that passed through life, I've gone through. The other aspect is I want to underline the simple fact that it doesn't matter how you start out. What matters is your attitude, the optimism of that, your willingness to work, your willingness to get knocked flat on your butt and get up and carry on the fight. That's the point. Okay, where do I start? I guess I start from the beginning. We'll go with the early childhood. I think I told you during the sacrament of matrimony pretty much about the divorce of my mother and father, my father, and me, so on and so forth. That led to my mother ultimately getting remarried. I was probably 7 years old or so, and she married. And I hate this word, a stepfather. Because he wasn't, he was my dad. But he had terrible limitations when he was 4 or 5 years old. Now we're going back into the early 20s. He got hit with polio. Okay? He was paralyzed from the waist down in his right arm. He was right-handed, by the way. Okay? Put him in a wheelchair. And he was confined to the wheelchair because the cure, they were sweating that if you had polio back in those days, your legs would kind of pull up. So they cut his tendons in both legs to keep that from happening. So, I mean, he was stuck in a wheelchair then for the rest of the day. Now, I tell you that story because if you ever gave Dad sympathy, he'd rip your lungs out. You didn't help him do anything. He never took welfare. He never went for unemployment. He busted his ass for us, and so we dealt with what he was able to provide. So from 7 years on, for a while, I lived in a garage. They pulled the cars out. we rented it. My bedroom was a 4x8 sheet of plywood in the rafters. Okay. Dad and Mom and me and my sisters. I was a pretty angry boy. If you've had fathers, I don't know if girls have the same feeling. They seem to be sad. They don't get angry when something happens to dad. But I hated the world. And my dad put up with that crap. But he did a pretty good job of it. He was an incredible father, but he couldn't do father things. He couldn't go to church. Church had stairs. He couldn't come to my football games. Stairs. Couldn't come to my graduation in high school. Stairs. Couldn't get in. He couldn't participate with these different things. So it was pretty tough on him. And then in the middle of all this, I had my mom got pregnant and had a brother. This is really good news for a guy that had 4 younger sisters. You haven't really experienced life until you've grown up with 4 younger sisters. It's quite an experience. However, we lost Kelly shortly after he was born. It was devastating to the family. He was born without I forget now, thyroid gland or something like that, and he couldn't survive. But even though that was such a devastating blow, Mom was still young. Had my 4th sister hadn't come along yet. So there was still hope that could happen. And it's kind of fascinating because all you gals carry within you tinder and fuel. That's not unlimited, but you carry it, each and every single one of you. You can carry a pretty good supply. You also carry fuel to fuel the fire once it's going. Guys have the spark. They fire up that tinder and then you're stuck with a tough one. But it's still there. So there's enough of it to create that hope. That things can happen again. So we hung on to that. Now through this whole experience, my family, even my dad, they weren't. Religion wasn't a big deal to them. For some reason, it stuck on me, and I blame my godmother for that. She took me and my sisters to church. My sisters kind of bailed out because she wasn't her God. But she's the one that kind of set my faith. And I was able to grab onto something. This is the start of the strength that you get. I felt something there that helped me deal with the stuff. And as I got older, it got tougher until one thing happened. You've all been to Mass now. I mean, you don't have a choice, right? If you don't go to Mass, you're going to burn in hell next week, okay? But you know how the Mass goes, liturgy of the Word. We have the Old Testament reading, and then we have a psalm. The Old Testament reading is done by a lector. The psalm is done by the choir, or the chamber, cantor. And then the priest or the deacon reads the gospel. Well, our priest, and again, this was an Episcopal church, high church Episcopal church. So if you walked into it, you wouldn't know it wasn't Roman Catholic. I didn't either. But Father Four, because I was an altar boy as soon as I could get in there. And I was having a really tough time. And Father Four never talked about it. I don't know if you could sense it or not. But he took over the song, and it just happened to be the 139th song. If you read that song, I'd recommend that you read it a few times.
What number?
139. But he not only read the part of the song that would normally go with the mass, and we shut down the choir. He read the whole thing. And from that point, that gave me strength. And I think what I'll do, I'm gonna do this a couple of times, so you're stuck with me until Nancy throws them out. I'm gonna read that 139th Psalm. Imagine yourself really angry.
It's right here.
And you're really angry that the world has been screwing you over from the time you were born. And things look pretty dark. And this is what Father 4 read. Lord, you searched me and known me. You know when I sit and when I rise, you discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path, my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my lips, Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in the grave, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, and none of them existed. What's that tell you? What's it close up and tell you? That you're not alone. No matter how bad it gets, you're not alone. So that really picked me up. And in fact, I even considered once upon a time the vocation of becoming a priest in an Episcopal church. I did finally become a deacon.
How old were you?
At that point in time, I was probably about 13 when this happened. But I'm one of those rare people that knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life from about the time I was 5, 6 years old. I wanted to be a Marine. My grandfather, when he immigrated from Scotland, joined the Marine Corps, fought World War I. My father fought in World War II. So I had 2 generations before me, and my grandfather especially was pretty adamant about service and serving the country. So I joined the Marine Corps, and what that did is it took this little boy that slept on a 4x8 sheet of plywood in a garage, in the rafters of a garage, and gave him an opportunity that I had to fertilize and grow with. But he gave me this opportunity, and I went all the way up to rubbing elbows with prime ministers, presidents. I served the commanding general of the Western Pacific, and I sat down for dinner with President Marcos from the Philippines. Played golf with him. Had to lose though. Prime Minister Park of Korea. And I tell you these things simply because the fact that was when it was commissioned, when I became an officer. And I had to do that the hard way. I had to work up through the ranks for 9 years before they sent me off to university and made me an officer. And with that became I picked up a lot of weight. And this is where things get a little tough. I went off to Vietnam. I served 3 tours on the battlefields of Vietnam. A tour is 13 months. And it taught me things kind of strange. It taught me love on the battlefield with my Marines. It taught me about the absolute importance of trust and how that applies. And that trust, it's a commander's burden. Trust is never given. It must be earned and continually. You know, it's not something that, look, okay, I got your trust now. I mean, it builds up after a few years, and I'll talk about that later. But you constantly earn it, and with these guys, these Marines that you serve with, it's probably the ultimate of all trusts. Because they're trusting you as a commander with their lives. And yet you're given missions, objectives to take, and you know that some of your people aren't going to survive that. And it's tough to chew on, but you still have to accomplish that mission. And you're required to develop a persona that your Marines do not doubt that you know what you're doing. They do not doubt that if they do give up their lives, they know you wouldn't waste them. So it's a heavy burden. Has anybody seen the movie Saving Private Ryan? Great. Hollywood really ticks me off. They show officers primarily as sickos, self-serving, and really care about their people. So Tom Hanks and the knuckleheads in Hawaii should have given him an Academy Award for that movie. But unfortunately, it was Lord of the Rings or Avatar or something came out. But the weight that the commander carries, he pulled off just perfectly. And the persona that he had, the closeness that he had with his people, even though he looked, and there were a few times in there where he lost his people and the rest of his unit weren't real pleased with it. But it's something that you have to have. You bury it deep within yourself. It kind of ended for a while, and this is something I'll share with you because it demonstrates the strength of the faith. We were in the middle of one operation once, and the intensity was about as high as you could ask for it. You never would, but it was. And then all of a sudden, everything went black. And I felt like I was flying. I went black. I had a gut load of steel. I couldn't hear, and I couldn't see. I couldn't tell you the difference between day or night. My people carried me. I won't get into that much detail, but we were detailed to set the village. And they carried me in and protected me. They obviously succeeded. And they found out afterwards that I had been deaf and blind for 10 days while this crap was going on. And God had his hand on me the whole time in 2 ways. One, that 139th Psalm kept coming back. And 2, God's hand is very small. And that hand that he used belonged to a little 7, 8-year-old girl named Sam, is what we called her. And she was with me the whole time, making physical contact, to let me know that I wasn't alone, just like that 139 song. That's probably why I've always been a sucker for girls, especially little ones. But the guilt that I carried along with that shrapnel for years was that I felt like I had violated my Marines' trust. Because instead of doing everything in my power to help them accomplish their mission, I was out of the fight. And when you violate a trust that's been developed over years, the people that are still alive, you can explain that to them. And even though they might go, it would have helped if you had been there to help. But I forgive you, because it's obvious what the score was. But the people that you lost, the ones that died, you can't talk to them. You can't ask for forgiveness from them. And what it taught me at that point in time is that trust is it's critical. It's vital to human relations. And when you step over a line and break that trust, and it's usually caused by emotion. Remember what the 7 deadly sins were? But we got anger,
Sloth.
lust, pride, sloth, greed, gluttony. A couple of them you can't really call emotions, but you sure as hell can call lust, anger, pride, envy, and maybe even greed. You can call those emotions.
Wrath.
Anger.
And that's what causes you to violate the trust you have with the people you love, the people you work with, the people you serve with. And if you can control that emotion, which allows you to keep the good judgment it takes to do so, you're better off. Now, I'm still in the Marine Corps. I've recovered from things. And I meet this most beautiful woman on planet Earth, okay? Still to this day can't figure out what in the hell that girl ever saw in me. But she must have saw something. So I married her, and married her in 71. I was on full-time active duty until 1994, so she was with me the whole time. During that period of time, she gave us a son while I was stationed in Okinawa. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. And then as I was stationed in Southern California when I commanded a recruit battalion, she got pregnant again. So I don't know, either she gathered up the kindling or I gathered up the spark. I'm not sure what caused that, but we got the oven hot and it was going. The only problem is she ran out of the fuel. And she miscarried our daughter. Our daughter was about that big in the bed when she went through that. So that was the second. First it was Kelly, my brother, and now it's my daughter. So it was kind of a life change. I started looking at things, and I haven't looked at what I did that hard until, I guess the last time would have been January 6th, a couple of years ago, when they overran the Capitol. But I still had a son. And I was pretty good at what I did. That's how I was able to work up through the ranks. And, I got selected for promotion. I was already a senior officer, and this would have picked it up one more time, but there was a catch. Because of my experiences and the combat time and the qualifications I had with the Marine Corps, at that point in time, I had 4 unaccompanied tours. Now, this isn't counting Vietnam, this is all afterwards. In that time, at least the tour was only 12 months, but it was 4 years that I had to kiss my family goodbye. And I didn't see them for 12 months. That's another indication about just how special Nancy was, because she kept the home fires burning. She put up with all the stuff of raising the kids. I mean, she had to change the diapers and break my son and the whole 9 yards. I fortunately was there for his birth, but and I had to go again. And when I got back, he was talking and house broke. So the hard stuff is over. But his promotion that came through, I would have had, if I accepted it, I would have been pulled out of the unit that I commanded and sent off to my 5th unaccompanied tour. Jason at that point in time was 8 years old. I'd only seen him for 4 years of his life. I lost a daughter. Could I lead my family for another year? And I decided no, so I turned down the promotion in 1994 and retired from the active duty part. However, they still had their fingers in it, and they sent me around the country. We were establishing Marine Corps ROTC programs in high school, and that's another problem. But the bottom line is, I got orders to set out to Selma, California, and establish the Marine ROTC program in Selma High School. And I did that until 2009, when it became impossible to take care of my wife and fulfill the duties of a senior Marine instructor running a division there at the high school. Which brings up the next hard part. We used to go back to Scotland every 2 years. My wife was also, I think, 3 generations out of Scotland, so we'd go back and walk over the family turf. And, until the last time we went was in 2001. And that's when I buried my wife the first time. And it was just like a light switch. I had this beautiful woman with a heart of gold that was competent in everything. Was a world-class, national class athlete. I think I told you about that. She was a big-time scuba diver, dove all over the world, all this stuff. So I'm taken from her. It was like a light switch. I lost my wife the first time on the 15th of July of 2001, coming back from Scotland. This wonderful person, the first thing that slammed her with the Parkinson's was the psychosis, which completely changes personality. Now we're going to get back into the trust issue. And by that time, we've been married 30 years. So if somebody tells you that your wife is violating your trust, what's your first reaction? Yeah, get away from me. You're kidding. And it wasn't being unfaithful, except being unfaithful to the family, accusing family members of attempted murder, all kinds of terrible things that completely violate. They got worse and worse as time progresses. And again, the faith in question, I started questioning my faith. And how could this happen? And not only to me and my family, how could it happen to that girl I married? So it got possibly worse. Terrible things happened. My freedom was at risk with accusations of physical abuse, so on and so forth. And the degradation of having to go to the Selma chief of police and let him know what was happening, so if the whistle ever went up, they knew what was going on. And then having to go to the sheriff of the county that we lived in and give him the same stuff. Because I had actually come to the house on complaints of Nancy being beaten. So, and again, this is not after sympathy. I'm not after sympathy. I'm after you to understand just how bad things can get. But you hang in there. It finally came to a point in time that I had to give up, and that happened in 2009. The cost of care, it had to be me because we couldn't afford to bring somebody in the house. I had to give up a family. I had to give up a friend. I had to give up all the family hobbies and interests and stuff. We were involved in a bunch of stuff. And the profession was the hardest part, because at the same time that this was happening, I was working for a diaconate within the Catholic Church. It ended because of what was going on at home. And all that, it came through, was tough. I've always, and right in the middle of that time, I got something else to read you that I wrote. It was a letter I wrote to Mother Mara, who was the Mother Superior of the Poor Clares monastery at Los Altos Hills that I was really heavily involved with at that point in time. I started out with Stephen Stills wrote these lyrics in his song, Stephen Changes. You ever heard of Stills, Nash and Young? Okay. The lyric went like something out of a dream I had years ago. Yes, I remember Stephen. Nobody left him. All the good times getting harder to come by without weeping. As years roll on, by little and little, I have discovered that after all, I am not, as I once imagined, possessed of any real substantial good. I have begun to find, and startled at finding, that things that once please less and less, or not at all. I am more and more unable to recall those lively emotions in which I once indulged, and I wonder why. Thus, by degrees, the delightful visions which surrounded me have faded away, and in their stead, melancholy forms haunt me. I begin to be restless and discontented, for I do not know how to amuse myself anymore, even when I try. I've always been an optimist because of the natural flow of my spirit, yet when that optimism is repeatedly challenged with increasing years and day-to-day realities, I find myself becoming significantly less emphatically nature. It is possible this may be happening because I have not made sufficient effort to change my heart, to raise, to strengthen, and purify my faith, to subdue my bad passions and tempers. Their day seems to have come. They have sprung up and most persistently begin to domineer. I know the cause of these negative emotions. It's because what I see in front of me is the path of my life, now closer to its end than its beginning. And it is not the path that I had imagined I would complete my journey. It's fogged in and my rudder has been destroyed in the incessant squalls of the last decade. I'm drifting, unable to tack the course. I must recover hope and gain the healing from it. I have done this before. My faith has always given me the strength to do so. I must make up my mind to the prospect of sustaining a certain measure of pain and trouble in my life. God's grace will strengthen and prepare me for it. And I earnestly hope that this act of faith will make me thoughtful and resigned to my responsibilities and obligations without further interference from my optimism. St. Paul has promised, no trial has come to you, but what is human. God is faithful and will not let you be tried beyond your strength. But with the trial, he will also provide you with a way out so that you may be able to bear it. And that was probably the blackest hole that I had experienced thus far in my life. But the faith was able to pull me out of that, and I recognized that in the letter to Mother Mara. She wrote me a letter back. I would have brought that to share with you, but that'd get too personal. The thing that always amazed me during these hard times of caring for my wife is I was constantly complimented on how I stuck with her, and, how I cared for her, so on and so forth. It mystified me. Everybody gets married and takes the same oath. And all I was doing was fulfilling that oath. But people seem to be shocked by it. So remember that fact too. When you give a promise, when you take an oath, you have an obligation there, even when it gets a little hard to fulfill. Then my ability to care for Nance was threatened when they discovered by accident an aortic aneurysm wrapped around my aorta where it hooks onto the heart. That was God causing that to be discovered, because if that sucker had popped, I'd have been dead before I hit the ground. Well, the good news is they discovered it. The bad news was the operation to fix the problem had about a 15% chance of working out.
Yeah.
Because they had to open up the kitchen cabinet. They had to pop the whole chest open, and then the aneurysm was so close they had to cut the aorta where it was damaged off the heart, and actually they couldn't save the heart valve. So I did have one choice. And by the way, before I went in for this, I had the Viagra. I had the anointing, which gave me, and I should have said that first off, because I was scared to death. And I was scared because who would take care of Nancy when I was gone? So I made all the preparations. I made my funeral arrangements and the whole 9 yards, got it all set up. Father Greg and Father Julian at the time. So in 1 hour, I got anointing, the full thing. I'd never had that before. If I'd have run away from somebody and you tackled me, I was so slippery with oil, you wouldn't be able to hold on. And I had communion. I had confession. So I had the strength, even though it was up to God at that point in time. The choice they gave me was we can put in either a cadaver valve, which is from another dead guy, or a pig valve. And I went for the pig valve because it guaranteed me that the cadaver valve didn't belong to a Democrat. So after they put me together, I had a garden hose and a pig valve. And then in the care for Nancy, because I had to lift her up and carry her around, I went back to that too quickly. God bless my son and daughter. That was terrible. My daughter-in-law slept in the bedroom with me on the other bed I couldn't move without that girl standing over me with her hands over me.
Yeah, that's Laura.
Good for her.
Walking around outside and she's shaking her finger. It was terrible. But,
Good lady.
that was pretty incredible. At any rate, I did bust my chest open again.
Oh my God.
You ever seen the movie The Alien? Ribs were poking out, so I had to go back in and put that together. Now I can't go through an airport metal detector because I have a stainless steel netted vest all through my chest. God's hand was in all this.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to get through to you. He taught me about trust. He taught me about the benefits of fulfilling your oath and fulfilling requirements of trust. All through my life, during some of the toughest times. And I'm describing them as much as I'm willing to. And then Nance, out of a clear blue sky, and I've already told you this in the matrimony class, decided to convert to the faith, which was a godsend. And she did that, I don't know, 3 months before she died. But then, she died. The last morning, the things you notice when somebody is dying is that you say you love them a lot. Sort of compulsively, and I really don't know why. It's not like I'm trying to convince her. I know especially now that she knew that I loved her. Of course she knew. I'm just saying it again and again. I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm so proud of you. And I realized that it wasn't because I was trying to convince her or myself or anyone for that matter. It was because I knew at some point I'm going to stop being able to say it to her and have her hear it. So I tried to pack in a lifetime's worth, and it will never be, or will never be enough. Once things are over, they're over. At least for now. So, and Father Greg got there, I don't know, a few days before, and gave her last rites. She couldn't talk. We had in our 50th anniversary was the 7th of August. And Deacon Steve came over. We had a 50th anniversary / wedding service because Nancy would never. Something kept her from standing in front of this Catholic all the time and verifying our wedding. We went through the whole thing there. And then 14 days later, she was gone. So it was it was kind of tough. And as the time progressed, I wrote a prayer to Mary. Actually, this wasn't an answer to my goddaughter. Because her and her husband came to visit me one day, and we had a nice long visit and conversation, and Nancy kept coming up. And I got a text from Alexis a little bit later on in mentioning that. So I kind of felt oops, maybe I'm overdoing this. So I wrote this prayer and I stuck it under Mary's chapel, statue of the church. I don't know if anybody ever found it, but it helped. But anyway, I did that at the year anniversary of her death. And the prayer went like this: My Lady of Grace, as time progresses, my children point out that my Nancy comes up a lot in my conversations over the past year as I approach the anniversary of her loss. My lady, do you understand my reasoning for that? You, of all, must understand when you spend your life with someone, there are not many experiences and memories that include just you. The other is always there. I do fully appreciate as time passes to experience things on my own that will add memories that she is not part of. A repertoire I can talk about without including her in them, even though I wish she were. Not enough time has passed at this point, I suppose, and I must admit, while the brutal initial pain of grief has subsided, I do retain a terrible fear of forgetting what I had. I've already forgotten the painful things. It happens pretty quickly, unfortunately. It's the fading of the wonderful things that I dread. Holy Mother, help me, please reassure that that will never happen. I believe that when two people love each other and sustain that love over decades, they exchange souls, each retaining a part of the other. When one passes away, they take that piece of the other with them. That must be why the loss is so painful to the one that's left behind. But if the one that remains still has part of the other's soul within them, can she still experience the world through me? And at some point, those experiences, those memories, can they be shared when we're joined together once again? My lady, is it wrong to believe that death is part of this only temporarily? When I include Nancy in a conversation, it's not because of grief, but a celebration of what I had and will, I believe, absolutely have again. My children must know, sense that, and I hope also sense that we too, they and me, have exchanged our souls. I pray, Holy Mother, that I have lived my life well enough to have made that possible. And ask you to receive the little I have achieved and pardon what has gone astray. In thee, my lady, not in me, I place my trust, affirming whatever good is thine, whatever is not. So, and everybody lived happily ever after. No, I hope you get my point. I handed you out a little thing about your faith and what to do if it's ever a question or you ever lose it. And I can't emphasize just how critical to our relationships with each other, with our families, with our friends, with the people that we work with, how absolutely critical that trust is. Nobody can ever take it away. Only you can trash it. Only you can waste it. And once that's done, it's really hard to get it going again. Just like my Marines that died, I can't get it again. All the other ones I made the amends to, but then it's over. So remember that, because we are all mortal. And if you violate somebody's trust, try to regain it while they're still alive, because once that's over, it's over. Okay, Anybody want to throw anything at me? I need to tell a joke to get everybody cheered up, and I got a really good one about two priests.
Those are always good jokes.
Huh?
Those are always good jokes
Yeah,
about
they're a good
priests.
joke, all right. Now pay attention, because there's some words in here that you don't understand. You gotta raise my hand, you raise your hand, because you're gonna miss the whole point, okay? Well, anyway, two priests died. Had in a car accident or something. They got run over by a taxi cab. I forget exactly what happened, but they died, and they went up towards heaven, and as they're starting their check-in with St. Peter, St. Peter tells them, hey guys, we got a problem here. The computer system's down. Everything's froze up. We can't let you in until we get that fixed, because we've got to have our records. But he says, but we don't know how long it's going to take, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to let you go back to the world. You can be anything you want. You can do anything you want. Just do that stuff there. We'll make it possible, and then when we get the computer system up, we'll give you the word and get you back inside the pearly gates. Okay? So the first priest gets up and goes, hey, anything? And St. Peter goes, yeah, anything. I want to be an eagle. I want to fly through the mountains and do all this kind of stuff. So St. Peter says, okay, you got it. And off you go. The second priest kind of leans over to St. Peter and he goes, you don't know what we're doing or where we are? He says, no, we can't track it. We'll just have to track it down after we get the system on. So the second priest goes, you sure? And says, yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Well, what do you want to be? And the priest goes, oh, you suck. So off he goes. Well, a couple of weeks later, they get the computer system fixed, and God is having a cup of coffee with St. Peter, and he goes, hey, those two priests, are we going to be able to get them back up? And St. Peter goes, well, yes and no. And it's why? Well, the one priest, he's an eagle. He's flying around. He's about halfway here already as an eagle, so we'll get him back easy. It's the second priest we're worried about. And God goes, why? Well, it's going to be tough to locate the guy because he's on a tire somewhere in Alaska. I guess the second priest didn't know who he was talking to.
Oh,
We got just enough time for your video.
Yes,
yes.
enough time for the video. I mean, that's gonna be hard to top. This, anyways.
You could
let us
leave early.
Huh?
You could let us leave early.
That's true, that's what we'll do, because we've still got 2 more classes. Thank you, Laura. No, it's a short video, it's only 17 minutes long, and it's about the priesthood. And we normally show it after Father Greg would come and talk about holy orders, but came and then it just didn't fit into our schedule. It's a very excellent video, so we'll show it next week. It's put out by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, and very powerful about the priesthood. And they're not studs in the okay? So let's stand and close with a prayer. Mr. Hand, can you
I got a special.
finish up with prayer?
Yeah, I can get a special.
You're gonna go up front,
Nancy,
sir?
I want to give this out too.
Oh, you want?
Oh, right. For those of you who weren't here, if you didn't get one of these last week, Greg made some more. Let's see, you guys are all here. You didn't get one. And you didn't get one. Josh, you didn't get one. Josh. you didn't get one.
Are they gold?
You guys.
Are they gold tone or silver?
So.
It's a picture. Oh, I got
Okay, if you're,
Okay, I want to pass these out to you. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the miraculous medal. These are very, very powerful medals. Like Nancy always says, if you're wearing it and you get hit by a car, these don't protect you. But there's a little story inside. And I don't know, for those of you that don't know, I was in law enforcement. I was a correctional officer in my day, retired. But someone gave me my medal. Not someone, my work. I used to work for the parole office, and they gave me the medal. At the time, I just told them I want a medal to get me through my career. I've worn it ever since, and I had a successful, safe career. 24 and a half years in the department, and I was blessed not to get in a fight, get assaulted. I had coworkers that got assaulted really, really bad, females. So I'm a faithful, miraculous medal person. So I have medals, they're blessed. It has a little story in here. You have any questions? Look.
Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal is one of the apparitions of Our Lady. She appeared to a religious sister and asked for this medal to be struck. And it is one of the most popular medals.
Oh, yeah. And then you got a picture up on the wall, nice. It is, big stuff. I don't know if she's not any good at getting money for it. And they keep asking her to grow her hair back on the head.
No, she's not listening to that one.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
At the very center of our beings is a point of nothingness, which is untouched by sin and illusion. A point of pure truth, a point, a spark which belongs entirely to God, which is never at our disposal, from which God disposes of our lives, which is inaccessible to the fantasies of our own minds and the brutalities of our own will. This little point of nothingness and absolute indigence is the pure glory of God within us. It is His name written within us as our dependence, as our inheritance. It is like a pure diamond blazing in the invisible light of heaven. It is in everyone, and if we could see it, we would see these billions of points of light coming together in the face of the blaze of the sun that would make all the darkness and cruelty of life vanish completely. Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
in nomine Patri, in the name of the Father, et Filii, and the Son, et Spiritus Sancti.
Amen.
Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So if anyone's interested in being a lector or extraordinary minister,